Hello everyone, and just recently we were able to see the latest leaks of the new episode. And as it looks like, the main character of the second episode will be Princess Lululu. Let's take a look at each leak in chronological order and try to guess what really happened to her. The first leak lets us know right away that something happened to Princess Lululu, because the picture Kane is holding is very similar to the one that hangs on various booths with the search for people. And by the way, I think a lot of people didn't notice the picture behind Kane, and it showed us what the lake with the yacht from the pilot episode will look like. Well, we also know that most of the events will take place in the digital circus tent and not in Candy Canyon Kingdom as many people thought. And judging by the fact that Princess Lululu looks very friendly in this picture, we can easily understand that she will be a positive character. Although many suspected that she will be a kind of reference of Kane, and in fact all her actions will just be an imitation of goodness. But I think that's all nonsense because she looks very nice. And look at Kane even in the most ordinary situations. And based on the next leak, we understand exactly what happened to our sweet princess. The rope around Lululu's body is striking, and apparently she was tied up by the biggest bully in the digital circus universe and the guy lying next to her. To be honest, I'm not surprised that it was Jax. But why are they both down? That's a question that's really bothered me for a long time. Maybe Jax was trying to tie up our princess and failed. But we also have this leak that shows Jax trying to get the princess out of the digital circus tent, and I have a hunch that Jax didn't make the right turn at the right time and just crashed, leading to this so-called accident. And now for the fun part. We were shown a very interesting fragment that shows Kane, Princess Lululu, and a blue mannequin. And from the looks of it, Kane is very scared, as if he realizes that he is in trouble in the near future. While Princess Lululu makes it clear that they are about to have a very serious conversation. And also remember the very first leak of the blue mannequin where he was shown very scared. And here you can see how devoted they are to their princess and how ready they are to come to her aid at any moment. And another very interesting detail of this leak is the table, which is very similar to the already legendary table from the pilot episode. And the last leak refers us to the farewell scene of the pilot episode, where Pomni sat at the table with the rest of the characters. However, unlike Pomni, our Princess Lululu has a very satisfied look on her face, and I think the hot dog Kane treated the princess with was incredibly tasty. It was probably a reconciliation dinner after which the whole situation that happened recently was forgotten. So, what happened next? I think that after everything that happened, Kane realized that it's impossible to forgive Jax anymore, because every day his behavior gets worse and worse. And maybe this situation was the reason why Kane sent our bully to work at fast food, where someone else would bully him. But that's another story. Well, we are not going to stop with these leaks, because recently we have been shown enough to understand the whole plot of the new episode. Let's not hesitate and start analyzing the rest of the leaks. And the first and one of the most recent leaks will be a picture of Pomni, Gangle, and Regatha. But the most interesting is the description of this leak. Look out Pomni, she's right behind you. That's what Gooseworx wanted to tell us, and after reading this post, I became really uncomfortable. I had the feeling that these words are not Gooseworx at all, but the character who looks directly at Pomni. And as you might guess, I'm talking about Regatha right now. Perhaps this is how our doll intended to warn Pomni of the impending danger. And judging by the face of Pomni at that moment, Regatha was able to do everything in time. The face of Pomni looks very strange. On the one hand, you can see she's very scared, but the other half of her face shows us surprise. It is as if Pomni does not understand what her friend wants to say to her and does not understand who to take a shit. And now we come to the main character of our leak. Gangle. It is this depressed girl who poses the main threat to Pomni. And if you think about the pilot episode, where Gangle looked sad all the time, this leak is the reverse. Gangle sneaks quietly to Pomni with a very intimidating look on his face. It seems that Gangle wants to hurt our main character. But why would she do that? The answer is hidden in the same pilot episode. Remember how brutally Jax bullied Gangle, and perhaps to get rid of this, Gangle had to turn to Kane for help. As we all know, Pomni was the main cause of Kane's stress in the pilot episode, and perhaps in exchange for her protection, Kane asked Gangle to make Pomni stop quietly living in a digital circus. And as we all know, the more stress a character experiences, the faster his final song gets. Or maybe Gangle just wanted to scare Pomni into some game without pursuing any malice. I would also like to tell you about another leak. Still remember the scene between Jax and Zubal, and this leak refers to that very scene. But in this image, we clearly see a satisfied Jax face who is clearly not going to do anything bad. Zubal, as usual, looks very haughty, but what's most interesting is that the Zubal suit is different from what we saw in the pilot episode. To be honest, I think this leak is just a reference to the pilot episode and also shows us a new Zubal outfit. But something serious in this leak was definitely not hidden by the creators. The first and probably one of the most important spoilers today is this picture from Gooseworx's Twitter account, which shows already known characters, Jax, Kinger, and Ragatha. By the way, I told you a long time ago that Jax and Kinger will definitely take part in the Sweet Journey, because we can clearly see them on one of the very first spoilers we were shown in the trailer. And next to this spoiler, we saw another image with a very surprised or scared Kinger, and as we can easily guess, the events take place in Candy Canyon Kingdom again. What can we take from this? We will definitely see 4 new characters. The most popular new character, Princess, a dinosaur or crocodile named Dino, a horrible chocolate boss, and of course a very scared blue mannequin. I could go on and on about absolutely every leak and fan art I can think of, but I want this video to be as informative as possible for you. So let's just stick to the aforementioned spoilers for now. Kinger will give us absolutely no information, except that something terrible has indeed happened that has shaken our chess piece so much, but his desperate look makes me laugh for some reason. It's much more interesting to watch one of the latest Gooseworx leaks where Kinger is in a trance as usual and doesn't understand anything that's going on around him. Jax doesn't do anything out of the ordinary either, and like in the pilot episode, he puts an ironic smile on his face, most likely after making a rude joke about Ragatha. I almost forgot about our Ragatha, who is ready to tear out every last hair on her head to prove Jax wrong. Or maybe that's just her way of showing her anger. In any case, this scene from the new episode is a direct reference to the scene from the pilot episode when Jax said he had the keys to all the rooms, and that made Ragatha very angry. We'll talk about the rest of the spoilers throughout the video, so don't worry, I won't forget any details. I think many of you have already seen the Pomni room, but not everyone understands how important this location will be in the new episode. And despite the fact that we have been shown a relatively long time ago room, I would still like to talk to you in more detail about this location, because she's hiding more than you think. But in this video, I will try to explain to you why this post is the most important news before the new episode, and try to explain when the next episode will be released. Let's take a look at this amazing Pomni room as much as possible, because it hides a lot of secrets that are worth talking about. First of all, I would like to talk about the mirror, which fits very well into the interior of this colorful room. If you remember the Kaufmo room, you won't find a mirror there, and it was strange to me, while there's nothing wrong with it in this room. But have you noticed how strangely placed it is? Usually the mirror is hung on the wall or placed parallel to the wall, but in the case of our Pomni, it is placed in such a way that you can see the whole room from any angle, and I think that if you stand at the right angle, you can see yourself. But what is the purpose of this? Remember the fragment from the pilot episode where Pomni was running away from the abstracted Kaufmo and saw the mirror? Now remember the horror with which she looked at the reflection. And also in one of the old leaks, Pomni looks into the mirror too, but only there her look is so crazy that even I got a little creeped out watching it. And most likely the mirror in Pomni's room is placed so that she can always see herself, so that she always knows where she is. And these thoughts would slowly and stealthily drive her insane. So what if Pomni decided to look into it deliberately, in which case she would realize what surrounds her, which would also drive her crazier every day. Or maybe it was just for the sake of beauty. But we don't see anything special in the reflection of the mirror, except for one detail. I'm talking about the chandelier. In the pilot episode, I couldn't find a single scene or frame in which this interior object appeared. But what does that tell us? Remember how Kane showed that the digital circus has both the sun and the moon, which means we have day and night. But I was sure that the lighting in the big top depended on that as well. Apparently, I was wrong. Most likely, the main room has some windows that illuminate the area of the digital circus tent. However, I didn't notice any windows in the characters' rooms, and there's no chandelier in Kaufmo's room. Maybe it disappears the moment the character turns into an abstracted monster. And that's the end of our video. Don't forget about feedback and see you soon in new videos.